All right, coaches, welcome to what we call the Superstar Question and Answer. This is your guys' chance to ask questions of the best coaches in the entire network, okay? You've been invited because a Superstar Diamond coach says that you've got big goals, and we want to make this call about helping you achieve big goals. So this is like, hey, you want to build the business, we want to support you in doing it, and therefore we're going to do, whatever we can to get you answers to whatever it is that you think's holding you back from hitting your goals. Okay, so you've got, obviously right now I've got about 15 superstars on the call, and more I'm sure will join as we get going. But let's go ahead and jump in. The way this works is you can use the chat thread to type in questions that you might have. Some superstars may type answers there, but we're going to ask you to be brave, unmute yourself, and ask questions on the call. And then, we'll kind of direct calls to the superstars as we kind of think who can answer that question the best. Or you can ask the question of any one of them that's on the call that you would like to ask. So it's really up to you on how you want to do that. So let's jump in. Let's just say it. Who has the first question? We'll go for about 45 minutes and hope to end this call somewhere around, 145 Mountain, 150 Mountain, unless we're going strong, and then we'll go till 2 o'clock. But who has the first question, please?
I'll go.
Yes, Coach Jen.
Cool. So what are the first actionable steps that you give to your new coaches to keep them excited about starting a new business and not making them feel the O word? We don't use that word on our team.
Okay. Actionable steps. Why don't we start with Courtney Dunker? You're on my first screen. So you get to take the first one.
Oh, geez. Thanks, Doug. I knew it.
I also get to pick on Courtney because she lives in Maui, Hawaii, and it's just not fair. So we should always pick on you.
You're so funny. Yeah, that is nice. I'm not gonna lie. So what I do is I send them a welcome email, and usually before the welcome email, I will have a group getting started right call live, where I do it pretty much every single Sunday. My goal is to start people like in batches, and so they have a couple of gals that they can start the training with, ask questions with. There's a group message pod going on. So I have found that the live getting started right call, explaining everything and then answering questions verbally and like through visual connection has been super helpful before they see an email or before they see a getting started right PDF. I just have noticed that's made a big difference for my new girls. Short and sweet, sorry.
Awesome. No, that was good. Sorry.
Piggyback off that, do you mind just briefly sharing like what you go over on that call? Like, is it just like vitals? Do you talk about like action items or what?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I go over their first goals. I think it was Ashley Molstad that had put one up on YouTube, and I basically structured the slides similar to what she was doing through the Getting Started Right call. I also tweaked it a bit the last 2 weeks where I kind of go over everything. Like, what is our job as a coach? Let's just dive into that. What are your top priorities? I go over the business activity tracker, make sure that they're familiar with that. That's their Bible for Beachbody. And then I kind of go through a timeline. And so I tell them, like, here's kind of where you want to pace yourself in the next 24 hours, the next 48 hours, the next week, the next month. And then I go all the way, I think, to like 3 months and just really painting that picture of onboarding over the next 90 days. And give them direct goals. I clarify on the call that if they need to figure out a different pace, they need to go slower, they need to go faster. This is just a guideline. That really helps because I think some people feel like, I'm a failure, I didn't hit the first 48-hour goal of Emerald, whatever. So you get all kinds of different personalities, but that's my kind of focus. I just put a visual out there. Here's where you want to track yourself. If that takes you a month to do, then that's great. But the point is that you're moving forward on this timeline. And then the girls that are runners, I always point the picture of, I've had several girls hit diamond in 3 weeks. So if that's what you want to do, then get started, go sprint. And then we go
Awesome.
over how to do that. We break that down, the how part. Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. All right, next question,
I have a question.
please.
Hey guys, how are you? Okay, so what would be your best strategies for following up with potential clients or potential coaches in terms of closing a sale or closing those leads? What's your best strategies for that?
All right, let's go to Molly Asplin. Why don't you answer that one?
So these are people who like have not signed up yet, have not committed. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. I think personally, I like to go in it and just kind of recap what they said originally. So, hey, Elena, I just want to check back with you. Like, I know you were super eager to get started to lose the 10 pounds that we had been chatting about, or I know coaching was super important to you because you wanted to pay it forward, you know, like use their verbiage of how they expressed interest in the first place. And then something like, I just didn't want you to think I'd forgotten about you. And then you do need a sense of urgency. So you need like, my coach mentorship is starting up on Monday. Like, are you in or are you out? Or I've got a few spots left in my challenge group. Like you need that sense of urgency, and you need like, are you in or are you out? Because otherwise you probably won't get an answer.
Let me add to that real quick. Do you have like a specific, like set amount of time between an invitation and a follow-up? Because obviously we don't want to harass people and obviously lose that client forever, but what's acceptable amount?
If there's someone that I've gone over all the information with and like they have my email, they have the price, everything, I do follow up in 24 hours. And I think that shows diligence, and I think that shows you know how to keep track of people and that you're going to keep them accountable as their coach or their mentor. If it's someone where like we kind of got going with the conversation and then it kind of fell off, I'm not as fast on those follow-ups, maybe like 2 days to a week. And then if it's someone that like kind of just ghosted, the next challenge group round.
Awesome, thank you, Molly.
All right, perfect. Brittany Leggett, did you want to add to that?
No, Molly, I'm pretty much same with you, but the only thing I was going to say is like, if at all possible, I've found a lot of success with like soft touch points, you know, liking their content on social media, being interactive with their actual life, kind of brings down that barrier a little bit and gets that conversation a little bit more simple, you know? And then the other thing I was going to say is a lot of my people who are just like, you could kind of tell they're just very hesitant. Like a lot of my people take the plunge when I can get them excited about just doing a fitness program with me. So if I can get them to fall in love with like being my wing girl in fit camp or just doing it with me, they're like, okay, I'll do it, you know? And then it opens the door to them, like, you know, kind of seeing a little bit of a wider view of what's actually going to happen in this scary fit camp or this scary coaching team.
Awesome. Thanks, Brittany. Okay, next question.
I'd like to go. Oh, go ahead.
Bridget, you showed up on my screen, so go ahead.
Okay. So I'm in 1-star quals right now, and I kind of want to know, like, are there any specific steps that will separate me from 1-star to 5-star? Like, is there any actions that you feel like you really dive in on harder?
Brittany Leggett, why don't we have you keep going on that?
I was just typing. Okay, this is kind of quick, but I personally think it's like a strategy thing. It's like the rate at which you continue to do what you already have done. So it's like if you reach 1-star quals and you just kind of hang out for a while, it's inevitable that 4-week mark for people's orders is going to come through and you're going to start seeing these red inactives, then your mindset's going to get crazy and you're like, oh, I have to catch up. But if you just keep plowing through and create that positive rhythm of like, okay, I'm continuing to go. I'm going to keep bringing my people into this team. You're going to find your people, you know, like you already know this, but you might sponsor 20 people and get 2 potential diamonds, you know, you don't know. But if you never sponsor those 20, if you keep holding on to this, like, you know, baby nest that you've created and you suffocate them, it might pan out, but more than likely it won't lead you to where you want to go. So I think it's just a maximum continuation of what you've already done, and like learning the skill of inviting and recruiting, and obviously duplicating too. But if you're never recruiting, you don't have anybody to help develop. You know, if you're never adding to your team, you're just sitting on these baby ducks hoping that they grow, and they might not ever grow, or they might not want to grow. So I think the difference between 1-star and 5-star is the people that just not stay the course. I would say accelerate the course. And I'm not saying you have to work more hours. I just think you get better at the skills that you develop in that process.
Love it. Thank you.
Awesome.
I have a question.
Please.
What is the best strategy of recruiting? Like recruiting in a mass, like recruiting a lot of people, like the question before, from 1-star to 5-star. What are the best strategies?
So Ali Testatori, why don't you answer that one?
I was just typing in the chat box. I was like, okay. So in regards to that recruiting, finding people, I will say that in my first year, our team ended 5-star elite in my first year as a coach, and the 4 coaches who helped us make that happen were clients that became coaches. So I would say, especially in the early stages, for all of you that are wanting to lock in Premier and Elite, look at the people that are in your circle already. Obviously, it's important to be inviting people to join the business, but if you're earning Success Club every month, if you're helping new challengers, I feel like they are the best of the best coaches. So that's where make sure that you look at the clients that you have, see if they have the potential, because it's our job as the leader to see that potential in them, to develop the potential. So my 4 diamonds, when we ended 6-star qual in our first year, again, were all challengers who fell in love with the community, fell in love with the results. So don't forget about them. But during that time, it's really important, obviously, that you invite. For me, the magic happened for me when I actually invited to the coach opportunity. I didn't invite to the coach opportunity for my first 2 years, like actually invite people to join the business. And I remember, I think it was either Ruth or someone, I'm pretty sure it was Ruth who said it. Maybe she invited like 100 people a month to the coach opportunity. And I remember I was like, okay, 100 people a month, that's 3 people a day. I can invite 3 people a day to the coach opportunity. And those 3 people a day was ultimately what got us to Superstar, because I did 3 people a day starting, 2.5, 3 years ago. And it was at Leadership in October. And I had my highest recruitment month ever, which I am not a high recruiter. I will tell you that. I do not recruit high coach numbers at all. And from inviting 3 people a day in January, over the course of 3 months, I had 36 business builders sign up. And out of those 36 business builders, 14 of them were my diamond. So you just have to be consistent with inviting to the business opportunity. I can say firsthand, my coaches who are not getting past 1-star, I know it's because they're not inviting to the business. And that's just the truth. So I would say, look at your clients, see who you can help motivate to become a coach, and then ask yourself, am I inviting? I even told my coaches this yesterday with my leaders. I told them, I said, I want all of you to open up some type of group where you could do a coach info sesh every single month. Because for me, that took me from Emerald to Diamond, was my first coach info session. And I know things are different now, Facebook algorithms, Instagram. But for me, that really elevated me as a leader. So that's what I'm encouraging my coaches to do as well, that want to become Premier and Elite. So stop inviting to your coaches, coach info session, and run your own. That's a big game changer as well.
I have a question.
Yes.
So I love what you said about that. But I'm growing a team and trying to get my leaders to also grow a team. And when do you recommend your leaders to like start their own team page or start their own? We have the big community. And then like, even for me to go out on my own and start a team page and get them actively working and growing. What do you recommend for that?
Ali, go ahead.
So Amy, I will be completely honest with you, is that our team has done everything together for a very long time. And my coaches, they could vouch for this if they're on here. They should be some of them, is that all of my coaches who are wanting to go elite, I told them they need to open up their own coach page right now And I'm like literally telling them what they need to do. So I said, okay, on Monday, I want you to share over the National Wake Up Call into your group. I want you to copy and paste our team call info, put it in your group. And then on Fridays, I usually do like a shout out in my team page, like for leaders. And I'm going to tell them to do the same exact thing. So for me, we've run everything so much together. Our community, we're very close. And at this stage, if you're wanting to become elite and premier, you've got to be the leader of your team. You have to be able to cast the vision and not depend on your upline coach to cast the vision for you. That's not up to them, it's up to you. So if you're listening and you're a diamond coach and you have one business builder, if you have 0, who cares? Start a page. Even my girls were asking me this past week, they're like, I only have discount coaches. Add your discount coaches, because 4 of my top leaders were all discount coaches that became business builders because they were in my coach family page. So if you're on this call, start a group as soon as you get off this call if you don't have one already. And shout out everything. Again, National Wake Up Call, team calls from your upline sponsor if you have one. Shout out people who have an incredible transformation. Shout out someone that went emerald, even if it's your spouse. Like, just celebrate as much as possible in that group. And even go live. I think maybe it was Melanie Mitro. I remember hearing her talk and how she would have a team call and no one showed up and she kept showing up. She kept showing up. And I think maybe it was Katie was her first person on her team call. All you need is one person to catch that vision, one person, and you never know who that's going to be. So run the group like you have 1 million in there, even if you have none.
Can I add to that, Doug?
Yes, of course.
I want to highlight something Allie said about that. You notice, I want you guys to recognize, she said, recognize your coaches, shout them out, cheer them on, cast your vision. She did not say create training. Please do not do that. Like, use the training that's already created. Your time is valuable. Someone has already done a training better than you. I like steal everyone's training. I'm not making my own. I've literally played like other people's YouTubes on a team call because they do it better. So be smart with your time, recognize, build relationships, and cast a vision. Don't create training.
I'd like to ask a question to follow up with the answers that were just given by Allie and Ruth.
Yeah.
So similar to that, so would you say for someone like myself who's been a solid diamond, that it would be good to help those emerald coaches of mine by just simply doing what you said, and that's just having my own page and only adding some parts of all of the community to that to help build their vision without doing the O word? Because I feel like I don't want to duplicate everything that we're all doing, and then I think that will create the O word for them, but simply plugging in small nuggets each week, like recognition, Mondays, National Wake Up Call, and our team call to just one simple page of my own will help them build their own vision. Is that what I hope I'm understanding what you're saying in the right way to not overwhelm people.
Allie, you want to keep going?
Sure. And then Ruth, you can follow if you want. So what I would say, if you don't, I'm guessing you don't have a coach page yet, right? You don't have one?
Right. Right now, use our group one. We have a large group and collective, and then our boot camp that we run.
So I would create your own page just for your team, just your team, just your coaches, because bottom line is this: if your goal is to become Premier Elite, your team has no idea that your goal is Premier Elite if you don't start casting that vision like today. And there might be people who have no idea what you're talking about, but all it takes is one person to say, oh my gosh, what is she talking about? She wants to become a Premier Elite. There's those different personalities, the Enneagrams, where they hear something, they're like, I want to be a part of that. I remember when I went live in my team page about Superstar, and I had 3 discount coaches who said, I want to be a part of that. What's Superstar? Just tell me what to do. They had no idea, but they saw the vision. They saw community. They saw teamwork. They saw that we could do something that not a lot of teams have accomplished. And they're like, I'm in. Now, there are times where you can cast your vision, you can do things, and it's like dead silent. That's happened to me before, where no one interacts, and you're like, oh, don't worry about that. Just like we say, don't look at the likes and the comments on your post. Don't look at the stuff that you're sharing in your coach page. Just do your job, do the recognition, shout out the girls that you have emerald. Even if they're a discount coach that referred 2 friends and they're like an emerald by accident, still shout them out that, hey, they inspired 2 of their coworkers, 2 of their best friends to join. And I'm telling you, it is a game changer. It is a game changer. Hence, I saw some of my coaches commenting. They've all done it. Some of them only have like maybe 6 in there, 6 or 10 people in their group, but they're starting to plant those seeds. And when you start to get those business builders, it like is the fuel to ignite the fire even bigger. So just run with it. Open the group. Don't be afraid.
So
I have a question. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay. Mine is kind of a follow-up to that. So like you guys kept saying like cast your vision and stuff, and that was like one of the questions that I was coming into this call with. What are your best like tips or advice for like casting your vision and like sharing those goals of hitting like elite or goals, I guess, kind of team wide without making them seem like overly personal, and just like sharing them in like a tasteful way so that like your team does want to get on board and they do want to do it together?
Love it. Moira, why don't you take that one?
So let me just make sure I understand you, Elena. Like, how do you not like make it weird? So it's like, these are my goals and
yeah, like I don't want to say like, oh, I want to hit 5-star. Like I want to make it like about our team hitting 5-star and like what it means for our team and like for each of them advancing their businesses. But like, I guess I feel like at times maybe, I know like Allie just said, like there's been times where she's talked to no one or like you've gotten crickets. And so I guess I just want to be able to like share those goals and like that vision in like a tasteful way and how it impacts like all of us.
Yeah.
And not just me.
So I think the language is really important, and I think it's about a we thing. I mean, I've always stood behind, when we're a 5-star diamond team, that's not me. It's not up to me recruiting challengers and me recruiting coaches. Like, this is absolutely a we thing. And I also know, as I kind of built up the ranks of like 5-star, 10-star, 15-star, I talked a lot about like the access to different corporate mastermind groups that I could be a part of, and the knowledge that I was going to be able to gain, which is, I mean, right here is the perfect example. Like, my team has access to this call and everything I learned from this like insane group of people, because we are a superstar diamond team. And they really feel that, and they really see it all the time. They see me bringing the knowledge back, but it's also breathing belief into them, as it's who we are. It's who I know you are. And just like you said, Elena, taking that back to like, this is for you to hit your business goals too. And one day you're going to have your 5-star team, and kind of allowing them to see their bigger vision for not just being part of a 5-star team, but the magic of that experience. And then one day they get to turn around and create that themselves. I remember this guy told me a few years ago, Doug Moss, at one of our first retreats, he said to me, and I don't know if he was saying that I was doing this or if I needed to learn how to do this, but he said, Moira, when you get someone to believe, you've done your job as a leader. And so I think our job as leaders is to constantly breathe belief. And I know now, 5 years into this, I'm really good at building people's belief in themselves. And so, so often it's easier to feel like you can do this together with your crew, that you could never do something alone. And so it's the power of the we.
Okay, next question.
I have a question about failures. And I know so much of this business is just failing forward and learning and, throwing things at the wall and see what sticks. But looking back on like your coaching career, or maybe some things that you see in your teams, are there any like mistakes or failures that you wish you could have avoided that maybe kind of slowed things down or halted things?
Lori Stewart, why don't you answer that one? I thought I saw you.
Okay, I was helping my daughter. Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, like as far as failing forward in this business, it's something that we have to do. We know it's inevitable, but looking at either like your journey or maybe the leaders on your team or your team in general, is there a certain mistake maybe that stands out, or something that you wish you could have avoided or your team could have avoided, that maybe halted things or slowed things down or took them in a direction you didn't want?
Oh gosh, that's hard, because I do that every time. I fail every single day. I feel like you have to just become comfortable with the expectation that you're constantly going to be failing, and know that it's going to happen, because when you go into something and you have the understanding, okay, I'm going to fail at this. This is probably going to suck. not with the negative connotation with it, but just more with the, like, that it's happening, then you don't have such a fear of the fail piece, if that makes sense. So we have constantly missed various qualifications and rank advancements by 1 week or by one person. And it can be very devastating, but there's always a lesson in that moment of just, okay, what could I have done better? How could I have changed this? And so I try to always take each of those failing moments as a learning tool of how to do it and be better. But at the end of the day, it's, you'll never see a successful CEO of any $1 million business that hasn't failed multiple times. You will never see anyone who has had any type of success without failure. So you have to just know that it's going to be part of it, and you have to know that it's going to be something that's going to help your business move forward. Because at the end of the day, it's just I didn't fail. It's just I learned. It's it's always going to be a learning lesson. So as far as specific moments, I could list a million of them, but nothing completely stands out in my head because it's nothing that I have completely focused on. Because when you focus on that failure, then that's what's going to suck you in and bring you down. So when you don't meet those goal ranks, when you don't meet that qualification, when something happens, it's going to hurt and it's going to sting and you're going to take it personally. You might be upset with somebody else, but what you have to do is take yourself back in, give yourself the moment to be upset because it's a natural feeling and you need to be able to acknowledge that, and then just stop and say, okay, now what do I do to course correct? What do I do to do this differently? If I didn't have enough people to hit this goal rank, then I need to be able to invite more so that I have more people to qualify. If I didn't have enough business builders, then maybe I need to take a step back and start focusing on how can I share this business more in order to fill that piece of that gap. And so it's always a moment of saying, okay, how can I do this better so that next time this is the piece that I may not fail at as bad, or if I do, I know at least I got a little bit better and I continue to try. At the end of the day, I just really feel that the only way that you truly fail is when you quit and when you give up, and when you see that there's really no hope left for what you're trying to accomplish. So.
Awesome. Thanks, Lori. Next question.
I have a strategy question.
Just a minute. Coach Elizabeth, go ahead.
Hi. So I am 1 star right now. I have a solid diamond underneath me. My diamond is very solid. And my husband is wanting to build his account to diamond. And so I was wondering if would you, as a leader and what you've done in the past, and then also how you would lead people through this, would you sacrifice Success Club for a month to help him get there so you can get 2-star by the end of the month?
Holly Hilliard, why don't you grab that one?
No, because it shouldn't even be Success Club's 3 people. So just go invite enough people that you find 3 more people, you hit Success Club first yourself, and then you build him, right? It's not like you can always, it's 3 people. So you're saying I'm going to sacrifice Success Club instead of just going and inviting to find 3 more people to have myself at Success Club. I always tell my coaches, Success Club first, take care of your business first, and then help build that account. But yeah, no way.
Sorry, next question. Somebody had started.
I would love to ask a question.
Yes, Rita.
Hi, I would love to know about best practices for growing emeralds and how to make that system really duplicatable for your new coaches who are still sort of in that heavy learning phase.
So I'm going to stick with Holly on that. Holly, keep going.
Yeah. So for me, emeralds, I teach signing discount coaches. So, that to me, emerald is then just hitting Success Club. So it doesn't, forget the the O word, the overwhelm. Let's talk about signing up 3 people as discount coaches with the exact same package that you signed up in your first month. Enroll them into a challenge group doing the exact same thing that you're doing. So I try to keep it really, really simple. We're going to find our 3 people. And I also recommend that for future income down the road, that they think about working with their spouse and creating that as one of their, signing them up as one of their legs. But Success Club, forget spouse account, Success Club, you sign 3 customers and I tell them sign them up with the exact same challenge pack you did. So I don't get them in the whole craziness of that. And that's it. Create your list of people and start inviting. So it's just kept super, super simple. There just aren't a lot of choices. Make your list of 100, invite those 100 warm market people, sign 3 of them up as DCs.
Awesome. Moira, I think you had a comment on it.
I was just going to say, it is that simple. It shouldn't be that hard. But if we're talking about like incentives to get to Emerald, you know, you can talk to, I think what's really driven our Emerald base in the last couple months is really just getting super fired up and like driving the idea with like how many customer leads are coming in right now. Like it's ridiculous. And you are, I'm not going to say anything negative. You're just crazy if you're not in Emerald and in Success Club. Like you're crazy. And so you have to like get them fired up and explain the benefits of getting to Emerald. There's so many, you're tapping into carryover volume. And granted, new coaches don't understand this, right? So it's really helpful. What I was kind of saying, like the idea for like avoiding the overwhelm of new coaches not knowing how to talk to people about getting to Emerald, have a call that your coaches can send. Like here's a 24-hour to Emerald call, watch it. And so having those kind of cogs in the wheel is like super helpful to just be able to duplicate down.
Awesome, thank you. Heather Harris, you have a question?
Yes, so I am, my goal by the end of the month is to start our 5-star qualification. With that being said, I have a lot of new runners, and the thing that I don't want is to create that overwhelmed feeling where they run, and then they're like, oh my gosh, this is just overwhelming. I've been there and I've done that, and I've had 3 ladies that have rocked it out, hit diamond, and left because they're like, it's too much. So creating more of a culture and trying to push them and grow with them and be in the trenches with them. How would you recommend, you know, would you get a pod together? Would you get a weekly call together? What would you guys recommend so that they don't feel overwhelmed as new coaches? Because some of these coaches are in their first month in running. So I don't want them to feel overwhelmed with some of 2 of my coaches that are already diamond and pushing for Star Diamond, and then I have some that are kind of in that in-between area.
Okay, why don't we, Courtney Dunker, why don't you answer that? Courtney's a new superstar, has a lot of, you know, growth and a lot of new diamond advancements. Maybe you could cover that.
Yeah, I was going to type in the chat box, especially if they're new coaches. I've learned this year especially, so I kind of related to like my cross-country career. Back in the day, when I was a runner, when I was a brand new runner, I had never had any experience training for cross country, doing the races, any of that kind of stuff. Same as our new coaches. Only what I was told from teammates or coaches was that framing my understanding of this whole racing mentality, right? So going into my first few races, I kind of just was like, okay, I'll just run as fast as I can. And that's all I knew. I didn't know that I was going to get like side stitches. I didn't know that I had to pace myself. I didn't know it was hard. I didn't know anything. So I think a lot of it comes down to how are you framing it? Like at the end of the day, they only know what you're telling them. And that comes down to your team culture. So if you have veteran coaches that are saying things are hard or are complaining or are just bringing negative energy, get that out of there. Bring your new coaches somewhere fresh and tell them what they're capable of. Like at the end of the day, we should, like our newest coaches should be seeing the most success because they have no idea what a coach cancellation looks like. They have no idea what inactive status is. They have no idea of falling out of rank. They have no idea getting a no when they invite. So just start sprinting. And I think painting that picture of like what they're capable of from the beginning because they don't know. So framing that understanding instead of letting anything touch them. And when you do that, I just feel like watching them explode in their potential versus like starting them off with a mentality of fear, it's so different. And so I don't know, I guess that's my biggest intake is why not? Why can't you go diamond? And now my girls are telling me I'm going diamond in 3 weeks. I'm like, awesome. Like, you guys are so much better than me. This is fantastic. And Whitney, yeah, she just chatted in the box. She was one of my girls that did it in like, I don't know, like 2 or 3 weeks. And it's just framing that. I think honestly, just getting them in the habits, start inviting as much as you have time to invite, start following up, start telling people about it. And then you'll see them start inviting and signing people up and being like, one of my girls who hit diamond in 3 weeks, she was like, I think my goal is emerald this month. And I'm like, actually, you're going to be diamond on Thursday. So she didn't even know what that meant. She was just running and she was telling people about it. Yep, there's Taylor. She was just telling people about it with passion. She was excited. She was posting. She was inviting. She was just doing the work without any framework or understanding of negative consequences. And I think sometimes we focus too much on the hard, or we focus too much on like what's down the pipeline. And I think we just need to get them excited about doing the actual day-to-day habits and sharing that passion. They signed up for a reason. Tap into that reason and just explode with that excitement for it. And then like the veterans, honestly, like if they are not buying into that same excitement, out with the old and in with the new kind of mentality. Like I want people, and I dropped out of 15-star qualifications the first time. And half the girls that made it happen this time are a totally different team. They were brand new coaches that weren't signed up when we were in qualifications a couple months ago. So I kind of had to rework and find the girls that were excited about the goal, that were not overwhelmed. And it was a totally different experience this time because everyone was so excited, including the veteran girls, and they were just vibing off of each other. So I would encourage a push pod, and I would be mindful of who you're bringing into that push pod. Does everyone have the same energy? Is everyone excited about the goal?
Perfect. All right, Keisha Stephanie, looks like you're the next question.
Hi. So my question is, it piggybacks on the emerald question that someone asked us a bit ago. So I noticed in the month of April that I had quite a few emeralds that went emerald, but then they brought in, maybe not that control center, but they brought in working coaches too. They were not equipped quite yet to help the working coaches, even from like a new coach call or getting started or anything. So I found myself spending so much time on that. So my question is, how do you handle that when you have new coaches that immediately start bringing in people and they don't even know quite themselves what they're bringing in? So I found myself overwhelmed and not really overwhelmed, but I was so busy trying to help those coaches and their coach that they brought in that I missed my own goal. And so I don't know how to manage that. Do you have any strategies about that?
Let's go, Brittany Legatt.
I had an inkling you were calling me. Okay, so I think that's awesome. And I saw Ruth's comment in the chat. She's so proud of you. So that's amazing. So obviously you know how to duplicate. But I kind of think like this pain point that you're going through is just something you have to go through. And it's like you don't know what to do until you go through it. And so now you've learned this is a pain point that arose for you. And so then you ask yourself, okay, what's going to make this better? I'm just throwing things out there, but maybe a recorded GSR for everyone to be able to pass on, at least to get people started right away. An open invitation to these emeralds to get your people in your boot camp right away. Like something to get them plugged in right away. I don't know if you have like a big team page, but that sometimes is helpful too. Like just get that positive energy going. And something you also might consider, I don't know that you have to do this for all time, but if you've got a bunch of young coaches working and willing, you might ask yourself, like, can I allocate a time in my week where I do a coach Q&A or a coach kickoff for my whole team because the growth is there and the energy is there, just to support that. I mean, I think it's that whole concept of like, I do, we do, you do is what you're looking for with these new emeralds. So like you show the way, you teach them, you pass on a script or you pass on a template or you pass on a recording. And the whole goal is like, hey, you guys, like we're going to do this together now. But next month, I want you guys to get together and do it. And then next month, I want you to do it solo and with your new coaches or whatever. So I kind of think, like for me, time blocking is a really big piece of my day-to-day. And so to answer your question specifically, like, because you mentioned missing a personal goal. I've got, if not in my calendar, in my brain, I know a part of my day is just for my personal business, not my team. And then there's another piece of my day for my team, because otherwise we get so, I don't want to say sucked in, but kind of sucked in to the team. And then, like you said, before you know it, you're like, wait, I didn't even check my business center or my success club or my challenge group or whatever. So for me, it's been like time blocking has been huge. So I know what parts of my day, if your day-to-day is pretty regular, like I know this is my personal business time, and then I move on to my team time. But again, I think it's like one of those good things. It's like, you know, the pain points of growing leadership, and you don't know what to change until you go through it. And so now you sit down and you brainstorm, like, what would I change now? Like, okay, a recorded GSR is just at the top of my head, because that would be, you do it one time and then everyone gets to use it, you know? And you have that, maybe a message pod with your emeralds, and you use that as a teaching ground of like, hey, this month we're all going to do it, but this is my expectation. To be really clear, like, my expectation is that next month you do it and you make tweaks to make it your own, and you fly the nest, or whatever time frame you feel is appropriate. I don't know if I answered all of it, but that's, does that help? Did I miss something?
That was good, and I do a few of those things, but I like I got it. Thank you so much.
Perfect. Christina Pryor.
Hey, like, a lot of my questions that I had coming in have been answered, which is great. I am trying to grow a team. I'm a diamond, and I was on that call where, Doug, you said, don't stay a diamond on the defensive. And so after that call, I went on the offensive and set myself, I've got to invite daily. I made sure I breadcrumbed, and I made coaching calls. I made sure, posts. I made sure I was specific in what I was asking for. I last month signed up 3 coaches, one of them discount, but you know what? And for the last couple months, I've hit higher than SC6, which is also a goal of mine. I've done 10, 12, which I've seen momentum going. And I feel like as this week started, it was just kind of a sludge through the mud, because as I listened to another call, I don't want to burn out and overwhelm myself in the type of invites. I want to invite a specific number, so that, like you said, if you invite so many numbers, you're going to get so many no's, which I've gotten actually very polite messages back. Thank you so much. And which I appreciate more than I read that message and they said nothing, you know? So to me, they answered back, and that was a connection, and I'm still able to connect with them. But I want to know, I guess, how to structure, like, do I say, 5 coaches invites today? That was cool. Like, I was setting myself up. I started with 10, then I moved to 15, then I moved to 20, then I moved to 30 a day. Mm-hmm. And I felt like it just kind of went, you know, like it's kind of, and so I want to know what is the best way to invite to coaching daily, so that I don't go a whole week without, but so that I don't run every day, so that when I skid into Friday, I'm like, I'm exhausted, you know, so that I am strengthening my diamond and going farther, because I have girls rising up to work as they're coming through struggles of their own. So yeah, I guess if my question makes any sense at all.
Ruth, why don't you take that one?
Good. I was hoping you'd call me, because I can expand on what Allie said earlier about the 100 invites. So I think something that coaches do, they think life is always going to look the same. And then if they get a day behind, they're like, crap, I'm a day behind now. And then they're 2 days behind. And then before long, they're like, oh, I'm so behind. And so, but the thing is, it's like, that's going to happen. You're going to have days where, you know, you have to take your kid to the doctor unexpectedly. And then don't look at it as behind. Look at it as like, yes, this is life, and you pivot. And if you have a vision and a why worth fighting for, you're going to find time, to make sure you get your invites done. So one thing that I did when I decided I wanted to leave my full-time job, and I knew, just a moment. And I knew I had to build my team, is I just started focusing on, I did all the vitals, right? Otherwise you're going to dry out your pipeline. You always have to do all the vital. But I was very intentional and focused on finding business leaders. And am I sharing my screen now? Did I share that? No.
No.
And so each month I would print out this, I call it a bubble. It used to be bubbles, now it's squares, the square sheet. And this wasn't actually a coach invite. It was someone who agreed to watch the team webinar, which is still really how I like to do coaching. Some people like sneak peeks. I really like sending webinars.
So, hey, scroll back up so they can see the top. All we see is a bunch of squares. There you go.
Yeah, that's all you're supposed to see, but these squares should have names in it. So I would invite until, and that would look very different. Some days it was like just 3 invites. Some days it was 5. Did I miss a few days? Okay, like I'm gonna really focus on that today, and I'm gonna make sure I get 10 in. So be fluid with your business. Know that it's not gonna look the same every day, but also know how important inviting to the business is. And even something that you said like last month, I think a lot of coaches who are trying to build a team do this. When I say I enrolled coaches, I never mean discount coaches. And I think sometimes newer coaches, they're like, oh, well, I enrolled 5 coaches last month. Okay, they were all for the discount. So they're not actual coaches, right? They might turn into coaches. I'm not saying that they won't, right? But they're not your people right here, right now, that have that vision, that see that vision, that want to run with you. And so even check your verbiage there. And I would say, how many coaches did you enroll last month? Well, the answer is 1, right? Because that puts you in check. It keeps me in check, right? I would love to always just have all the business builders. But I think that's something I see with coaches frequently is they're thinking these discount coaches, which are awesome, will turn into biz builders. So always look at it as like, okay, I have one coach last month. That way you keep that momentum going to find biz builders.
Awesome. Thank you.
Can I ask a question? What Ruth just said?
Sure.
So Ruth, I did that, that paper that you just said, I did that back a month ago. And now I just got really overwhelmed last month because I'm like, okay, I did send out, and that was just my coach invites. That wasn't actually like me doing the webinar. I'm on the risk team right now, so just in case if you wanted to know. That was just me inviting coaches, and then I made another list of the ones that wanted the webinar. So now I'm like, do I go back to all of those people that I've messaged and re-invite or like follow up? Because if you're doing it, I just felt super overwhelmed because I'm like, okay, 100 coaches every single month. Not all of them are signing up, obviously. So then I have all these people I had to follow up with, the plus challengers. I just felt very overwhelmed. So are you writing 300 new people, or I'm sorry, 100 new people every single month?
So someone said that in there. Follow-up is key. However, like also gauge your business and say, okay, these are my really important follow-ups. So you should always kind of know your really important follow-ups are the people that you're in conversation with. And then from there, okay, people who replied but I haven't heard back from, those are important too. People who never replied, those are important follow-ups, but they're not as important. So when you guys are feeling overwhelmed, what I recommend is prioritizing what to do. Like what's most important? Inviting. Next, what's most important? Following up, but following up with your most important people, right? And then, okay, when you have more time, maybe go back to those people who maybe never responded and just shoot a, hey, I just wanted to make sure that you saw this type of message. But those people who don't ever respond, they're not something on my brain that is like causing overwhelm for me, because like it's low-hanging fruit, right? I'm not going to get stressed over those numbers. All I'm worried about is people who actually responded. That's your focus. That's key.
Okay, so you're not necessarily following up with every single person that did not respond. Okay.
Okay, we've got time for just a few more questions. It looks like I'm to Larissa Kunley.
Hi. Yes. I'm going to try and make this quick since I know we're getting towards the end. So my question is about like message pods or coach pods, push pods, that kind of stuff. Really just if anybody has any tips on how you kind of structure them, because I've been doing them for a while and I have different ones, like I've done them based off rank, or like if I have a batch of new coaches, like a new coach pod kind of thing. But like going forward is kind of where I've been getting confused, because some die off, some like, have great energy and everything. So I was just wondering if anyone had any tips on like the way you structure them, or any tips on when you have coach pods, like to get the energy up, or what you feel like is most beneficial in push pods or messenger pods with your coaches.
Moira, why don't you answer that one?
So I think what's important in the beginning, you probably don't have enough people at the same energy level to create the energy that you want to create. So I would buddy up with like a success partner or something like that and bring your people together. I think that's really important. Like I'm at a point where last year I actually buddied up with one of my elite coaches and we ran our new coach pods together and we ran our like push to success club threads together. And there were too many people in there. So I, like 5 years into the business, had to break off and do it on my own. But I didn't do that for 4+ years. I was always buddying up. I was reaching out to new people. I think push to success club threads are really important in my business. We usually put them together like the last week of the month. The other thing is I have a thread where I call it my VIP crew, and they're my coaches that have gotten into Success Club the month before. So there's like a huge incentive for them to get into Success Club so they can stay in the VIP crew. And so a lot of my other coaches have like a business builders page where that's where your Success Club, earners get to be in the business building page. But if you only have 2 people hitting Success Club, that page or that thread's going to not be very great. So I think, really lean into your success partners or the other people on your team that are running and bring your pods together, bring your runners together. Something we're always doing on our team is like, who do you have pushing to 1-star? Who do you have pushing to 5-star? Who do you have pushing to this? And like, let's get them on a call. Let's get them in a thread. Let's do this. Let's do that. We just put together a thread where when they're 3 away from diamond, we put them in the baller push thread, and like the energy in there is bananas because everybody's 3 coaches away from diamond, and it like gets them over the hump. So I also think when it comes to those little things that you're putting into your systems, as Holly was talking about, like systems are key. Systems make your life so much easier. You're constantly evaluating. You're constantly trying new things, and you're like, oh, that totally didn't work, not continuing with that. Or like, that was a total hit. We're going to keep doing that every single month. Does that help?
Yes. A quick follow-up question, because I think, so just kind of almost reevaluating. So I have 6 diamonds right now, and I think my hang up too is like, our pods are like my coaches and their coaches, and so it's like some are really big, and then we have like runner ones, so maybe kind of having them also maybe start creating their own little push pods too, so they're not getting too overwhelmed.
Yes, what I would look at is who's pushing to what goal. Like out of those coaches, like who's pushing to 1-star and who's actually hungry for it and who's actually doing the work. And even if it's 2 or 3 diamonds pushing to 1-star, like that's phenomenal, and they're going to feed on each other. But I totally get the energy of like maybe older diamonds that are kind of just hanging out at diamond. Like you don't really want them in the same pod.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome. I don't know last name, but Jen has a question. Jen.
Hi, that's me, Jen Hernandez. So I've been a growing solid diamond for 2 years, and I mean like 3 to 5 emeralds, sometimes 8 emeralds, 27 active coaches, but I am finding a way to make elite this year. Like I'm growing, that's it. So I am struggling with what questions to ask myself to where to grow, because I know action will solve everything. And so I really just want to know, like, what can I ask better from my coach and from myself to analyze, like, where am I hung up, and maybe like what, or your best tip or insight for someone who's been stalled like that at the same place. I mean, I've been growing, but like at the same rank and wanting to build leaders, like what would be something you wish you did then?
Allie Testatori, why don't you grab that one? Oh, you're muted.
Can you say that again really quick? I was texting my kids because they're trying to come in here. Sorry.
Well, I want to be able to ask better questions to learn from my leader and leaders to get past being diamond. I've been solid diamond, like super solid for 2 years, and I'm working, and I want to ask the right questions so I take the right actions to get elite. Like I'm done with diamond. I'm ready for more.
Yeah, you're ready to get past diamond. So I would say it all goes back to what I was saying before about the groups. Is I actually sat down this past week and I asked myself, what were all the things that I did to grow as a leader and to stand out as a leader, to go from diamond to elite in a year? And I remember writing everything down, and it was actually very eye-opening for me. I actually had talked to Doug right after I did this, and all of the things that I was doing, I was not having my diamond coaches do. And it was a huge eye-opener for me, because I was like, oh my gosh, all of these things I was doing, but I'm not encouraging my coaches to do this. Because if you had to label me, I'm probably more of an enabler because I like to do everything, because I didn't have an active upline, like my exact like upline. So I kind of had to do everything from the beginning by myself. And because of that, I kind of went the opposite way, where I gave my coaches too much and I never really encouraged them to get out of the nest. So I wrote everything down, and I realized if I want my coaches to develop as leaders from diamond to star diamond or to elite, they've got to do these things. And I'll tell you my list that I wrote down. So the first one was to open up a personally sponsored coach page and start casting their vision. That was the first one. The second thing was to start offering a coach info sesh once a month. Like I said this in the beginning, I offered my first one as an emerald coach. It got me to diamond in a weekend because I was the leader of that group, and I presented why coaching changed my life. The third thing is I actually started inviting to the coach opportunity. And then the fourth one, my coaches on here don't even know I'm going to make them do this. So is they're going to run their own training group, their own fitness and their nutrition challenge group. Those are the four things that I did from day one in my business by myself. Again, because I didn't have a team to like really plug into at that point. And none of my leaders, the ones that I believe can become a lead, are doing those things. So I'm in a process of helping them map out how to do those things. And those are just 4 or 5 like little things. But I know from my experience, that's what got me from diamond to elite. In a matter of summit to November, we're just implementing those few things in my business because it made me the leader. And I do want to say this, I know we're at the end, is I'm going to go back to what Julie said. Julie Vora said it was perfect. She said that when you start to become like a leader of your own team and you have your own group, it doesn't mean you disconnect from your big coach family page. It is so important to not disconnect. So Jen, if you go create your own group today, your own coach group to start casting your vision, do not disconnect from your upline coaches group, because you will start to feel isolated, and leadership can become very lonely if you disconnect from the bigger coach family. I've seen it happen with my leaders. They disconnect, they go run their own group in their corner, and then I'm like, where are you? You're not on our team calls anymore. You're not on our power hours. You don't have to change everything. It's just a few things that you change, but you're going to have more power in becoming elite when you work with your upline coach, when you can band together. Like we have a group right now, an 8-week group. It's not my PS coaches, it's my PS coaches, and all of their coaches are in this group, and they're helping together, the 7 of us lead this group together with their team. So in saying that, you want to do those things to evolve as a leader, but do not disconnect from your upline coach if you have one and their group, because just like Moira said, teamwork is we. This business thrives when you do things together. So yes, you want to have autonomy and be a leader, but do not leave your mothership.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. All right, guys, we are out of time. You know, the last question, I'll just throw it. We'll have Molly ask one. I'm going to ask Molly. Molly, what do they need to go do now? That obviously big goals, need to get to elite this year. If you had a goal to get to elite and you were a diamond today, how would you break it down to make the plan to get there?
I love what Brittany said early in the call about accelerate the pace at which you're bringing on coaches. Because if you do that, all your problems will be solved. And so whether that means implement a weekly webinar or a weekly info session, or however you bring on your coaches, or teaming up with your upline and saying, hey, I really want to do this. Like, I got to bring in coaches faster than one business builder a month. But you know, not getting hung up on what you already have, because yes, you have a great business, you're on this call, but going out and really playing offense, because your existing people are going to get energy from that too. And they're going to be like, holy cow, like she's bringing on a lot of coaches. Like I got to run with the pack. And that's when this gets so fun. So accelerate your speed at what you're bringing on coaches, working coaches.
Awesome, guys. Okay, thank you guys for being here today. We really do appreciate you. We will get this recording. We'll post it back to the Superstar thread, and they can share it with you guys. Great call, great questions. Really do appreciate the questions and the answers from the top coaches. All right, guys, we will talk soon. Let's make it a great June. We'll see you soon. Bye.